Welcome everyone, I'm Adam. In this problem, we're going to be finding the vertex, focus, and directrix of the parabola that's given by our equation y plus 7 squared equal to 4 times the quantity x minus 3 halves. And then once we find those, we're going to be sketching a graph of our equation over here. So before we start finding the vertex, the focus, and our directrix, with the equations of those, we know they all deal with h's, p's, and k's. So it'd be good to find what those are. Now, looking at the equation that we're given, we're very close to standard form, but we're going to take just one step and write that in standard form so we can get those values of h, p, and k like we said. So as we see, the standard form with what we have is an equation with a parabola of a horizontal axis should look like y minus k squared equals 4 times p times x, say minus h. So we don't have too much work to do. We can just take our y plus 7 and we'll write that as y. It needs to be y minus a number. So y minus, say, negative 7 quantity squared. And that's equal to 4. We already have a 4. Now looking inside, we have x minus 3 halves. So there's no number being multiplied with x. If there were, we'd try and factor that out. But we have x by itself. So 4 times p, it looks like p is just going to be the number 1, since we just started with 4 by itself. So 4 times 1 and times x minus 3 halves don't have to change much there. So what do we have? It looks like there's our k is negative 7, our p is 1, and then our h is 3 halves. So with that, let's jump into finding the vertex. So our vertex is the point with x-coordinate h, y-coordinate k. Looks like we're going to have, well, our h is, say, 3 halves, and our k is negative 7. So there's our vertex. So not too bad. All right, now let's next find our focus. All right, and the focus for a parabola with a horizontal axis is given by the point with, say, x-coordinate, say, h plus p, k. So plugging in what we have, h, 3 halves, plus p, which is 1, and then our k is negative 7. So our focus is 3 halves plus 1. Looks like that's going to be the point with x-coordinate 5 halves, say, negative 7. There's our focus. And then finally, let's take a look at our directrix. So our directrix, okay, again, with the given standard form that we have, is going to be the vertical line, say x equals, say, h minus p. So h minus p is going to be, say, 3 halves minus 1, or equal to 1 half. So our directrix is going to be x equal to 1 half. Okay, so we have these 3 things. Now the next thing we want to do is sketch a graph of this parabola. So using these, we're going to go ahead and sketch each of these 3 things in here and then try to use that to complete the parabola. So starting with our vertex, we have our vertex at x-coordinate 3 halves. So 3 halves, 1.5, right in between 1 and 2. 3 halves, negative 7. So put our vertex point there. Our focus, right, at point 5 halves, negative 7. So 5 halves, or 2.5, right in between 2 and 3, negative 7. Okay, and the directrix, we have an x equal to positive 1 half. So that's going to be the vertical line at x equals 1 half. Okay. Now, how can this help us? Well, we start to visualize what the parabola is going to look like. So first off, we see that we have a vertical directrix, excuse me. Here's our vertex, and our focus is over here. So the parabola is going to be opening up in this direction. Right? Now, a couple different ways we can do this. We could just quickly sketch the lines out, or not lines, but quickly sketch the curved parts of the parabola, but we'll try to be a little more accurate and find 2 other points to help us out. Now, since we know that the parabola is opening up this way, we know, say looking at our focal point, our focus, which has x-coordinate 5 halves, at 5 halves, due to symmetry of the parabola, there'll be 2 other points above and below that with x value 5 halves. So to find 2 points, we can simply just do some basic algebra. Back over here, at say x equals 5 halves, we'll see what the 2 y values of 2 different points would be. So we're going to take this 5 halves and simply plug it back into our original equation. So we have, and solve for y. So y plus 7 squared is equal to, say, 4 times, now x is 5 halves, so we have 5 halves minus 3 halves. And so for that x value, you see what y values we get. Okay, so 5 halves minus 3 halves, right, is just 1. So we're going to have, see, y plus 7 squared is equal to 4. We're taking square root of both sides. We have y plus 7 is equal to square root of 4 is 2, plus or minus 2. And so, lastly, y is going to be equal to, solving for y, and we subtract 7. So minus 7 plus or minus 2. So it looks like y is going to be negative 7 plus 2, or negative 5. And y is negative 7 minus 2, or negative 9. So again, what that tells us, coming back over here, is at x equals 5 halves, right, the x value of our focus, we're going to have a point with y value at negative 5. So at negative 5, y value, x value 5 halves, we'll have a point right there. And at x equals 5 halves, we'll have a y value, or a point with y value negative 9. Okay, so just to make our parabola a little more accurate, through our vertex, coming up through the top point, and through our vertex, coming down to our bottom point, there's a sketch of what our parabola would look like. Thank you very much.